Hi everyone, it's Lauren, and today I thought I would do a TBR video or an upcoming reads video. I haven't done one of these in a really long time, mostly because I'm not very good at sticking to lists of things that I need to read, even if it's a list that I've given to myself. But typically I tend to do TBR videos over the course of a few months, so this is going to be my upcoming reads for the months of April to June. That's it. That's 3 months, April to June. And I thought I'd have a go at bringing one of these videos back because I quite like it when I watch other booktubers and I know what they're about to read, then I kind of know what reviews are coming up. And also for myself, I have decided to try a little experiment to read all of the books I already own that are on my bookshelves rather than getting distracted by new and upcoming releases. So I felt like if I did a video saying these are the books I'm going to read in the next 3 months, then I will have to read them because it's out there and it's in stone. It will make me go through some things. So I've got a few books here that I wanted to read just because I wanted to read, and then I have a book from each shelf in my house, and I organise my books by colour and by type. So because of that, I actually have quite a wide range of different types of books in this little pile next to me, which is good. It's nice to have a variety, a good varied literary diet. And the first thing that I have here is a book which was lent to me by my friend Kate. So she's been lending me some old school traditional science fiction books to help me kind of get into that genre a little bit. And this is A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick. I've not read any Philip K. Dick at all, so I don't know if this is a very good place to start or if it's just one that she had and she wanted to lend me. I will read the blurb. It says, Substance D, otherwise known as death, is the most dangerous drug ever to find its way onto the black market. Bob Arctor, undercover narcotics agent, is trying to find a lead to the source of supply, but to pass as an addict, he must first become a user. So sounds like dystopian fiction, science fiction type of thing. So I'm looking forward to this, especially as it's an author I've not read before, and I also feel really bad that she's lent me all of these books and I've just put them in a pile next to my bed and not read them yet. So like when someone lends you a book, I feel like there's quite a strong impetus for you to finish them and give them back. So I need to read this. The next thing I just fancied reading is Ruby Fruit Jungle by Rita Mae Brown. This was sent to me by Penguin for their LGBT History Month, I feel like last year, and I haven't got to it yet, and I'm really interested in it. So I need to read it, and this is a coming of age story. I feel like this was written in like the 80s or 90s. That could be wrong, but it says in the back, Molly Bolt is a young lady with a big character, beautiful, funny and bright. Molly figures out at a young age that she will have to be tough and stay true to herself in mid-20th century America. In her dealings with girlfriends and boyfriends and the rocky relationships with her mother, and in her determination to pursue her career, she will fight for her right to happiness. Something that I won't be picking up right away in April, but I will be reading between the months of May and June, is Brick Lane by Monica Ali, and that is because this is the second pick for the Feminist Orchestra Book Club, and this will be read between the months of May and June. I will leave the details of the Goodreads group in the description box below this video if you're interested in joining in the Feminist Orchestra. And this is about a young woman from Bangladesh who has an arranged marriage and comes to the East End of London, and it's about her being thrown into this new world, finding her own voice and her own strength, I believe, kind of outside of this domineering marriage and in this completely different culture. And this was shortlisted for the Man Booker Prize in 2003, and I've been wanting to read it for a very long time. So if you are interested in reading this along with us as part of the Feminist Orchestra Book Club, we would be more than happy to have you. We'll be having discussions about it across those 2 months. And now, the books that are from my shelves. So I'll kind of talk you through all of the different shelves that I have in my house. Behind me, you might be able to see, I don't think you really can see, I think it's out of the corner of my camera, but I have 2 shelves above my desk. I have a shelf of white books and a shelf of black books. So I have 2 here from my white spined shelf. The first one of those is The Gap of Time by Jeanette Winterson. This is part of the Hogarth Shakespeare series, and this is a modern day adaptation of The Winter's Tale. Now I read The Winter's Tale recently and saw the Royal Ballet's production of it, so I feel like I'm on a roll with this story now, and I would really be interested to hear Jeanette Winterson's take on it. So this was my original pick from that shelf, but then I saw this book up there as well, and I realised that I really want to read this. So this is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo Lodge, and this, I did buy this a few months ago, but it's recently just exploded everywhere because Rennie has won the Jalak Prize for this book. I feel like lots of people I know have read it and absolutely loved it. The idea for this book came from a blog post of the same name that Rennie put up, talking about just exhaustion, I believe, with trying to explain racism to white people, and it had quite a large response. And I heard her talking about this book on the Control-Alt-Delete podcast, which is Emma Gannon's podcast, and it just sounded so interesting. She's such an interesting person. And there's lots of books at the moment out there about racism and kind of about race relations in the US particularly, and I personally haven't read a lot of books about the UK, which is where I live, and it's important that I do read that. So heard amazing things about this book. Can't wait to get to that. And then from my shelf of dark spine books, I also chose some non-fiction, and that is the Raqqa Diaries by somebody who has escaped from Raqqa and is living, when they wrote this, in a refugee camp in northern Syria, and they are going by the pseudonym Samer. And I almost feel like this book is going to be a little bit out of date now. I feel like this was written in 2016 or something, and when I say out of date, I don't mean like, oh, it's so passé. I mean like, I should have read this earlier, because I feel like stuff is going on in Syria all the time. But this is about one person's life and experience, and it is their story, but coupled with these different illustrations as well, which I think is quite interesting. So I'm really looking forward to finally getting to this, feeling a bit bad that I didn't read it earlier, to be honest. And then in my hallway, I have a shelf which has all of my feminism and gender studies books on it. It's like a little women's studies reading list up there. And I decided to pick from that shelf Men Explain Things to Me by Rebecca Solnit. This is a collection of essays which Rebecca Solnit wrote quite a while ago, and this is where the phrase mansplaining was first coined. And I really want to read this because I have another book of essays by her, The Mother of All Questions. Oh, apparently I'm just collecting essay collections by this woman, having never read anything by her. So I thought it was about time I got to this book, because I'm so terrible at just buying books and then putting them on my shelf, especially because I don't have one massive bookshelf. I have different areas around my flat, and I just kind of collect them and go, don't they look nice up there? And then don't read them. So I'm also a sucker for pretty books, particularly pretty books which are of a pale turquoise, pale blue colour, because that kind of fits in with my idealised colour scheme of my living room. And that's where this book comes from, and this is The Refugees. I apologise in advance, by Viet Thanh Nguyen. I'm really sorry, that is probably pronounced horribly. And this is a book of short stories, which I bought a while ago, and just look how beautiful it is with this parrot on the front. And all of these short stories are about people either in Vietnam or in America, and it's that kind of longing for belonging, longing for relationships, and about what drives someone to leave one country for another and looking for that self-fulfillment. So, you know, it's just something that I picked up on a whim. Not on a whim, because it's pretty, but we don't just collect books just because they're pretty, also because they have beautiful words inside. I think the series of books that I feel the most guilty about are probably the pocket penguins that I own, which look like this. And they came out a few years ago, and it's all translated work. Actually, there are some that are originally in English, but they're kind of books from all over Europe, and which have been translated into English if they need to be. They're all classic texts, and they're colour-coded by which country they're from, and I was so up for it when these came out, and I've got about 4 or 5 of them. And have I read any of them? No! So I'm going to work my way through them. Luckily they're numbered. This is number 1, so I'm going to start with this one, which is The Beast Within by Émile Zola, obviously translated from the French. I've not read any Émile Zola either, another reason that I feel guilty and uncultured. And it says on the back, it is a psychological thriller of adultery, corruption and murder on the French railways. So what's not to like about that? I will get through these. I promise I will get through these. And finally, I have a little set of books published by Persephone. Now, I love Persephone books. They are so beautiful. They're all in these dove grey covers with different wallpaper on the inside, flaps for each different book. And they mostly publish women. They're all kind of people who are underappreciated in their time, and they're kind of bringing them back to the fore, which I think is a wonderful thing to be doing. And it's a beautiful shop when you go in, and they always do like 3 books for, I don't know, £20 or something. So you kind of pick up one and then think, well, I might as well pick up 2 more. So I have something like 9 or 10, well, it must be a number divisible by 3. So I guess I have 9 books, and I've read maybe 2 of them. So I must get through these. This one that I've picked for this kind of next few months is Harriet by Elizabeth Jenkins, and this was based on a real life murder of a young woman by her family for her money, and I guess that Elizabeth Jenkins has fictionalised this. So that is another kind of goal for me in the next few months, is to get through my Persephone books. So I've just counted that pile and there's 10 books there. So that's not so bad. Over the course of 3 months, I've only got 10 books which I've kind of put on a list that I have to read. So I think that's doable. I think I'll get through these, as well as all the other books that I inevitably will just pick up on a whim. That's kind of a little bit of structure, but not too much structure. So feeling good about that. I would love to hear from you if you've read any of these books, especially since I'm gonna read them, I'm gonna get through them, but I mean, which one do you think I should read first? Like, which ones did you like? Are there any you'd warn me off? That would be an interesting thing. And also, if anyone else fancies reading any of these along with me in the next few months, there'll be some reviews of these going up on my channel, so hopefully that might be a little bit interesting. We can have a chat about them. So other than that, I hope you're all well in all other aspects of your life, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!